Hello, everybody. Welcome to Detox the Design podcast. This episode is about consistency, pure passion, and dedication. This is about a story of one of the students who approached me a few years ago. This is about a design aspirant chasing down her dreams. This is about a person who has worked day in and day out to achieve her dream. This is about the person who is already working in a government job. She left the job and started preparing for NID. This is about going against all odds to achieve what you want to achieve. The name of the guest is Pooja Shinde. She got into NID toy and game design. Coming from a mechanical engineering background, a completely different field, and getting into toy and game design. This episode is about her story, how she kept on going even after facing rejections or failures at every step of the process. Mind you, guys, she cleared NID in her third attempt, and she is now pursuing Masters in Toy and Game Design at NID. And as NID is just around the corner, I want you to listen to this conversation, and I'm sure this will definitely help you and pump you up as you prepare for the exam. Hi, Pooja.
Hello.
Good to see you after a long time, really long time now.
Yeah, after 1.5 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, I think we briefly result के बाद we connected, but proper
उसके
बात करके it's been like what 1.5 years now, huh?
हाँ, exactly.
How were this 1.5 years? कैसे थे?
Full of roller coaster ride. It was a deep down V down there, and then it suddenly just skyrocketed.
Interesting. So, so you are coming from a mechanical engineering background. I remember the conversations that we've had. Okay. Uh, Initially when you said that, okay, Sanjay, the result is out. Okay, I made it to NID finally.
Finally, yeah.
Finally, toy and game design category rank 3.
Yeah,
Right? You're going to take up a course that you wanted to take up.
yeah.
And before that, usse pehle, when I spoke to you, was a completely mechanical mindset.
A proper
Usse pehle,
engineer.
proper engineer thi, and you were also working as an engineer, right? So
Yes, yes.
just for the context, just tell us about your work, what you did. Okay, when did you graduate? And
Yeah.
what was your role?
So I graduated in 2019, and then I immediately joined steel industry, JSW Steel, and then there I worked in like 3 departments in 3 years. Like I was so much transferred, but finally I was there in color coating line. So there I was in operations as an assistant manager.
Hmm.
So yeah, my role was to uh, handling paint inventory for like 50,000 ton material.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was in operations. Yeah.
दूर दूर तक कोई डिजाइन नहीं था मतलब.
नहीं, जो मैकेनिकल में जो हमने जो
Hmm.
डिजाइन करे थे ना, गियर्स वगैरह,
Hmm.
जो स्पॉकेट्स वगैरह होते हैं, बस वही, बाकी कुछ नहीं करा था कभी.
Right. So when you're surrounded by people who are mechanical engineers, technical people who have like, इन सब के बीच में कहाँ से आया दिमाग में कि हाँ डिजाइन करना है?
एक्चुअली इसका स्टोरी चालू हुआ था फाइनल ईयर से. मतलब
Hmm.
वो भी सेकेंड ईयर से बताती हूँ, क्योंकि
Hmm.
लाइक व्हेन आई वाज इन सेकेंड ईयर, आई यूज्ड टू बी देयर विद माय सीनियर्स मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम.
Hmm.
सो जब वो लोग अपना फाइनल ईयर प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे थे, तो मैं उनके साथ बैठे रहती थी.
Hmm.
So that's how one of my design professors approached me for a project,
Hmm.
and then I ended up doing a biomedical project on human eye.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there I was the only single-handed person, because like no one else wanted to do that project,
Hmm.
like because of the internships and job and like all kind of stuff. So that is when I like actually started liking designing, because like the research part, modeling, simulation. बट आई वॉज नॉट श्योर कि डिजाइन में तो जाना है, बट कौन से मैकेनिकल नहीं जाना, ये तो फिक्स था.
Hmm.
So फिर like
Right.
that's how I ended up doing job, because I did not wanted to waste any time, because like I wanted to just explore and have financial independence at the same time. And then but my family wanted me to go for gate. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yes. So for their satisfaction, I tried gate for 1 year, but I miserably failed.
Okay.
Then Corona came, so like 2 months I had a gap proper. मैकेनिकल पर्सन ऑपरेशंस लाइक प्लांट, तो घर पे इतना कोई काम नहीं होता था ज्यादा,
Right.
क्योंकि हमारा तो फील्ड वर्क है पूरा. So that's how I was like design. I wanted to go to design, but something which is familiar, which is comfortable for me, like not
Hmm.
end up with NID, TGD. I found that okay, this is something which is related to my personality. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's when I decided.
Yeah. So ये डिजाइन का जो थॉट आया, ठीक है, कि कुछ डिजाइन करना है, यू अंडरस्टूड कि हाँ दिस इज समथिंग राइट फ्रॉम योर कॉलेज इटसेल्फ, यू हैड दिस इन योर माइंड,
Yeah,
राइट? सो उसमें भी नाउ देयर आर 19 डिसिप्लिन्स, ठीक है. अब वो टॉय एंड गेम डिजाइन कैसा है, मतलब इमेजिन, आई एम ट्राइंग टू सी अंडरस्टैंड कि
yeah.
स्टील इंडस्ट्री में काम करती है पूजा, एंड वो कहाँ जा रही है टॉय एंड गेम डिजाइन. मतलब वो जाके शी विल बी डिजाइनिंग टॉयज,
Sorry, yeah.
games, and so it's a big mismatch. How does that happen? Like, how did you come down to toy and game design?
This was like I have actually been a kid all my life. Like if
Hmm.
you ever go for a shopping with me,
Hmm.
you'll find me like grabbing all the things. Like just like, I'll buy toys, I'll buy some cartoon stuff.
Hmm.
I'm very good with kids.
Hmm.
Like I love playing with them. Even when I like even at this age,
Hmm.
like at the age of 25, I still buy toys all the time.
Hmm.
So when I just saw toy and game design, I was like, okay, this is something I want to explore,
Right.
because the rest of the things, it just did not even cross my mind. So
Right.
TGD was the only one, and then I just started exploring it. So I
Hmm.
guess it was more of a personal interest,
Hmm.
the love for design, and then I just started exploring it from the point of design. So
Hmm.
like the reverse engineering was done.
Right. So जब ये चल रहा था दिमाग में, है ना, तो when you go to office, you have a completely different atmosphere, completely different kind of people who would not even think about design, right? दूर दूर
Yeah,
तक नहीं सोचेंगे. So how
true.
was that? How did you balance both of these?
Like I used to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Hmm.
Like before going to office at 8, I would just study in the morning,
Hmm.
and then in the bus, because the commute was around like 1.5 hour in the morning and like 1.5 hour in the evening.
Wow.
So then I used to plan out the stuff, like what I can do in the bus, like watch some
Hmm.
podcast or videos. And then even after coming back at 8 in the evening, I would just study for 1.5 hour. And on the weekends, like public holidays, like whenever I got the chance. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I tried to manage that.
Interesting. So how did you get better at drawing?
Drawing is something like I remember, like since I was a kid, I always used to say that I wanted to be an artist,
Hmm.
but it just faded somewhere while growing up.
Hmm.
So when I got to know about the NID, then I was like, okay, this is something I am getting back to my old self.
Hmm.
So I
Right.
was pretty good at it, like sketching, like
Okay.
not the pro version of it, but yeah, the doable thing, the manageable thing.
Hmm. Okay. So when you were like managing your preparation and your job, mindsets दोनों के बहुत अलग हैं.
बहुत ज्यादा.
ठीक है, तो माइंडसेट, क्योंकि आई डिड नॉट वर्क इन अ मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग डोमेन. आई नेवर टुक
Yeah.
अप अ जॉब आफ्टर ग्रेजुएशन, थिंकिंग
Okay.
दैट मुझे करना ही नहीं है, मुझे सिर्फ डिजाइन करना है.
Okay.
ठीक
Okay.
है, so that way I was very rigid and I was doing freelance in design back then.
Oh,
But I
nice.
understand that the mindset shift that needs to happen, कि मैकेनिकल में ये फॉर्मूले वो फॉर्मूले, ये रूल्स वो रूल्स प्रिंसिपल्स, राइट? एंड देन डिजाइन में एवरीथिंग इज फ्री, यू हैव perceptions, you have some completely different things, you know. So
Yes.
how was that switch for you? Because every day, so for me it was like stop and then you go to a different thing. For you
Yeah.
it was like daytime, वहां जाना, बाद में
हाँ.
यहाँ.
वहां जाना यहाँ आना. So how was that?
Actually, the transition was like it was actually pretty difficult
Hmm.
because being in mechanical, we actually have a rigid mind space. And then
Hmm.
like when I got to know about designing, I have a architecture friend.
Hmm.
So yeah, she helped me through it. But even though someone was there to help you out, but still, at the earlier stage, I was absolutely clueless.
Hmm.
Like I just knew that I don't want to go back there.
Hmm.
But then I just started reading the YouTube platform is something great. And then I came across your podcast.
Hmm.
So that is how I came to know like what is the actual design process. But even then, the design exam is something which is completely different from the conventional way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so even the NIT, they do not leak their papers. Like we do not have the actual format, like what they will be like. And even for the TGD, when I tried to join some courses or some what exams, the TGD questions were not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like when I signed up for some exams, like there were communication, graphic design questions. So
Yeah.
it was literally frustrating. Then I managed to find some of the
Right.
design people like from core background. So that's how like they just told me like just explore in the beginning. And then
Right.
I remember listening to one of your podcast of Aditi Sharma.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I just like it was in the loop all the time. क्योंकि कैसा करना है क्योंकि like she was an engineer, so
Yeah.
it is easy to correlate it that way.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, when you are going through this process, self-doubt नाम की चीज तो common
बहुत
है,
ज्यादा
right?
बहुत ज्यादा हाँ.
Common है, right? So, and how many attempts did you take NID के लिए?
This was my third attempt.
Third attempt.
क्योंकि फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में वो एक्सप्लोर करने में ही पूरा टाइम चले जाता है. मतलब समझ ही नहीं आता क्योंकि पहले तो पोर्टफोलियो भी बनाया भी नहीं था.
Hmm.
तो like how portfolio is supposed to be, like how to choose your projects, how to
Right.
work on it. So it takes a lot of time. Or like when you're doing a job, it is very hard to find a free space.
Hmm.
Like when you're changing the field, I felt that a free space should be there जहाँ पे तुमको टेंशन नहीं है कि तुम्हें अभी ये काम छोड़ के ऑफिस भागना है.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the main reason it took me like number of attempts.
Did you ever felt like you should leave the job and start preparation on a serious note?
Yes, actually. But I was not able to because my brother was not earning and I wanted like if he'll be earning, then I can just take a back
Hmm.
foot.
Hmm.
But I also wanted to earn because of the financial independence thing.
Yeah.
So that I can pay my own fees at least
Yeah.
for few of the semesters.
Hmm.
But when my brother took the job, then I just resigned right
Hmm.
away. I did not even tell anyone.
How did your family take it? When did you tell your family? First question.
I'll tell you how did I do it. Actually, leaving the job, it is like nightmare because the income is going to stop completely.
Hmm.
So even before registering in the portal, I started telling people in my office so that I just don't back up. I told my managers, HOD, I even sent the mail to higher authorities. And then I put the official what in the portal so that अभी चांस नहीं है मेरे पास ऐसा क्योंकि अभी रूमर तो स्प्रेड हो गया है सबको पता चल जाता है.
Hmm.
Then when the application was accepted, I told my family. Then there
Okay.
were n number of meetings.
Yeah. I'm sure they were. How did you convince your parents?
I was not able to convince them till the end. Even like after they received my result, that's when they got convinced. Okay, there's something called as toy and game design, and there's something like my goal can do.
Hmm.
Because yeah, all the people in my family are mechanical engineers. So being
Yeah.
in creative background, they don't know
Hmm.
anything about it.
Hmm.
Like for them, even going for a walk or just surfing around some
Hmm.
natural place or even just what a creative block as being drawing or sketching. For them, it is a complete useless thing or time time
Waste
pass
of
कर रहे
time.
हो.
Waste
Yeah,
of time.
actually, कोई
Hmm.
future नहीं है तुम्हारा बर्बाद हो.
Now we can laugh it off, but it's very difficult to go through all of that, right?
Actually, like I remember crying all day long.
Mm,
Like
mm,
I left my job in August, then September, October till November, like 3, 4 months. I was just trying to struggle. I was like, what is going on? I was good at job because then you start
mm,
you are not able to judge like job अच्छा था कि छोड़ के अच्छा
mm,
किया क्योंकि like
mm,
every time it is a problem, but yeah, then it was never going back.
mm.
Yeah,
But very bold move, very bold of you to take that step कि हाँ अब हो गया है, now I have to put my foot down and मैं नहीं
yeah,
करूँगी अब job, right?
yeah,
तो ये decision, uh, but there was still a lot of uncertainty, right?
yeah.
कि अगर job मैंने छोड़ दिया और अगर NID नहीं हुआ,
हाँ,
already एक attempt हो चुका है,
दो दो हो गए थे
हाँ
तब
2
तक.
हो चुके हैं, right? तो अब तीसरी बार भी अगर नहीं हुआ तो क्या करूंगी, ये सोचा, डेफिनेटली सोचा
ये
होगा.
सोचा था बट पता है उसमें लाइक बात ये हुई थी कि जैसे जब जॉब कर रहे थे तो कॉन्स्टेंटली स्ट्रेस होता था कि तुम्हें ये भी करना है वो भी करना है. लेकिन जब मैं मॉर्निंग में जब उठती थी लाइक व्हेन आई यूज्ड टू गेट अप इन द मॉर्निंग, that time morning like 2 to 3 hours they were actually liberating, like they made me feel like I'm actually breathing my life. So when I got the chance to do percept designing for full time during my break, like after leaving the job, it was actually like the stress was there, obviously the stress was there, but it felt nice to pursue something, to do something what I exactly wanted. And at the end of the day I did not want it to have a regret in my life कि मैं नहीं कर पाई या फिर I did not take a step to stand for myself.
And had this NID not worked for you,
Yeah,
even the third time,
yeah.
क्या करते हैं?
I was pretty clear with my mind. I would still go for TGD. I would start freelancing. I worked with a therapist. So we developed some tools. So like the same projects I showed in my NID portfolio.
Okay, okay.
So that's how like I also gained confidence there. Like the jury, like they actually praised my ideas in the interview. So
Oh,
I was like, yeah, no matter what, even LinkedIn is there. Like I would just start freelancing, and I was ready to take that time again to just switch it up or to just take that boost.
interesting. So you mentioned you were working with in collaboration with the therapist,
Yeah.
right? So this is part of the process where you're trying to figure out how you can get into TGD and right,
Yes.
the part of the design preparation process, right? So how walk me through that process. Like first, for example, you've mentioned first attempt went into exploration and understanding what design is as a whole. So what happened after the first attempt? Like what did you learn from it?
From the first attempt, I got to know like design exam is something you should be happy. Like at any time, like if you are stressed or you are just not ready to enjoy or you're just not in the mindset to explore or learn, you won't be able to do it because everything is just so uncertain, even in the exams. क्या पूछेंगे वो लोग कोई भरोसा नहीं है. But if you are happy and if you just want to enjoy giving the exams, it is the best. Just ऐसे खेलते कूदते जाओ exam दे रहे हैं. And I'm sure like I have seen design people like returning happy after giving the exams.
Yeah.
Like with the conventional exams, I have never seen myself
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
And it is something different because the NID people, they frame such unique and yet simple and elegant questions. Like you tend to think, okay, ये भी हो सकता है. So it just gives you a different perspective to your personality. So mindset to have learning, to keep learning continuously, बहुत help करता है.
So all the 3 times you went till the interview round?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did they ask you in the second time, you went for interview? What did they have to say?
Second time, yeah, second time interview, it was just a general question. It was like, what is the difference between a toy and a product? Like, how do you go to your office? Like, what is the number of corona patients in Nagpur? Yeah, like they were all general. I was like,
Those kind of
what?
questions.
Yeah, what is the temperature there? They even asked me like, tell us something about Nagpur, like which we don't know.
Right.
Yeah, those kind of questions.
How was it different from the third one? What happened in the third interview? Because they would be familiar now. They remember people, right?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the faculty was still there in the third interview. So I was nervous. I like, what will they say? कि यार ये
Hmm.
लड़की 10 बार आ रही है मतलब क्या? But to like, I was actually surprised. They were so welcoming. I was like, yeah, you are there. So I was like, okay, nice. So I was actually comforted there, and it
Hmm.
was not awkward.
Hmm.
So, and I showed them all my portfolio. I took the models there in the interview.
Hmm. So what all models? What was the portfolio? What did it contain?
My first project was one managing emotions, overwhelming emotions. So it had a process chart
Mm-hmm.
which helped the candidate. It was basically for depression people, like people suffering with anxiety or panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a process which included shifting of your thoughts from emotional thinking to logical thinking.
Okay.
And there was a spin wheel which helped the candidate momentarily,
Hmm.
like without any external help.
Right.
It was a wheel, the spin wheel kind of a thing,
Okay.
which had the activities like
Hmm.
I prepared it for myself. So it was like ordering a burger or just calling a friend right away, taking a walk, cycling, whatever activities personally I enjoyed.
Hmm.
So it was that key whenever you are under stress or you are under any attack like anxiety or panic attack. So the first thing is to manage yourself.
Right.
This was something, and the second was like tracking routine.
Hmm.
Like whenever you go to a therapist or a psychologist, the first thing they ask you to do to track the routine.
Hmm.
And the conventional method or just the paper thing, it would take most of the time for your therapy. Like if the therapy was of 1 hour, then it would take just 30 to 45 minutes. So I developed a model, like a simple graph, but in an interactive way, so that it can be done by the patients, and it can be helpful to them to liberate some of the energy, or to just calm them down for some time. Yeah,
Hmm.
till they approach the therapist.
Very
And
interesting. Very interesting. So what did the jury had to say to these?
they were actually very impressed by these ones, because earlier the project which I did, they were not related to me. I just had an idea and then I tried working on it. But by the third time, I understood, like being from non-design background,
Hmm.
if I work on some ideas related to my life or the situations which I'm coming across, then I would be able to explain the story behind it.
Originality.
Yeah, originality.
Hmm.
And that is when I can be myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that like they loved it.
Absolutely. So what questions did they ask you in the interview?
It was all based on the ideas.
Okay.
Like, yeah, even I had a toy for my dog.
Hmm.
My pet loves the water bottle, like the plastic ones. But there's a thread, like your dog will just swallow the cap or some plastic chunks. So
Hmm.
I made a DIY toy. But then Julia asked me, like, how can you make it more attractive or
Hmm.
eye-pleasing to a dog?
Hmm.
And then I made a month card, like there are 12 months. So for a toddler,
Hmm.
to just introduce months to them. So actually, the color theory, I don't know, I just forgot about it. So I just used random colors. So they asked me, like, what is the story behind it? Like, what colors
Hmm.
did you use? So
Hmm.
that time they just gave me the idea, like you could have used colors related to the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, the interview was not grilling. Actually, like it was very smooth, like a creative. Like they actually asked such questions which can make the candidate think. So it
Hmm.
was more kind of a discussion.
Right. Right.
I had a project where I tried to introduce shapes to the real object in our
Okay.
surroundings for a toddler. Like if a rectangle is there, then the refrigerator is there. For a circle, the sun or moon is there, like those kind of things.
Yes.
So there they helped me to reach the point of replay value for a toy.
Hmm. Okay.
So like throughout the interview, they did not even judge for at a single point. All the time they were just trying to know me. Like they were
Hmm.
just trying to explore like what I can think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you've mentioned replay value, why don't you just go ahead and explain, because it'll be useful
Yeah.
for the listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So replay value is so the shapes were there and the cards were there of the shapes. So it was just for the stationery, like if a child is sitting at a place, but then introducing a replay value would be to give them a bigger shapes which can be stuck somewhere. Like those shapes can even be used by like visual impaired kids.
Hmm.
So even they can play with their parents. So like if a rectangle is there, then we can ask the toddler like to just trace the rectangular object in our home, and then they can stick it there.
Hmm.
So that way it can be played even while you are sitting, or if you just want to roam around the house, or if you want to make your child more observant about the surroundings.
Right. Cool. Now let's talk about how your first round and second round of the NID were. So starting with the first round, how was the NID experience like? Okay, so you've given it 3 times. How was this time different from the previous ones?
This time I was confident about it because I had my own ideas inspired from my own story. I had the time to do user testing, to build the proper models, and then to just review my idea again, to polish it over and over again.
Hmm.
Because the previous 2 times I was working at a company, so it was not possible for me or to take out the time for the user testing or to just polish or just work on my idea, any of
Hmm.
my ideas again and again. So somewhere like even if I tried to be confident like in those previous times, it was actually not possible because somewhere down the line you know yourself that you have not worked hard enough for it, like whatever the reason might be.
Right.
So yeah, so the confidence actually reflects in your work.
Hmm.
That's what I have observed.
Interesting. So what kind of questions were there in the first round and the second round?
Like in the
NID.
interview,
NID exam, the prelims and the mains.
in TGD, for the first round, they asked to design a play space for kids at a hospital,
Hmm.
with some food stations and some games to play for them. And the second question was we had to choose our favorite toy. We had to describe it, illustrate it, and then we have to do the modification also, like how we want the toy to be. And the third question was they just gave a picture of a boy, and then we had to storyboard it, create our own story.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was it.
Interesting. And the second, the mains paper.
Yeah, the means they actually gave a poem this time in the studio test.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was a description of a toy and its character, what
Hmm.
the toy can do. And we had to give the toy to a toddler.
Hmm.
Toddler is crying, and we have to illustrate that how the toy makes the toddler happy. So we had to sketch.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
was.
What else did they give you? Did they give you any material handling questions? Yeah. What
Yeah,
did they give you?
they gave two different type, like two varying diameters corkboard circles,
Mm-hmm.
rubber band, bamboo sticks, and they asked us to prepare a working model using the power of rubber band.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Okay.
so I love cartoons, so I inspired my model from Doraemon, the helicopter.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, I understand what you made.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The second question was like they gave material, like the material was not given, only we had to create some ideas. Like with
Hmm.
the help of straw, thread, we had to create 5 ideas for kindergarten children.
Hmm.
We have to design some ideas for them. Yeah,
Okay.
playful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now that you've made it to NID,
Yeah.
when you look back at your journey, like it was a
Yeah.
difficult one. 3
Yeah.
attempts, takes a lot of dedication. 3
Yeah.
attempts takes a lot of focus, a lot of determination कि हाँ मुझे ये करना है,
हाँ.
right? So did you have a rigid schedule that you followed every day कि हाँ मतलब इतने टाइम से इतने टाइम तक ये करना है, उसके बाद ये करना है, उसके बाद ये करना है? Did you have anything like that?
No, because what I have observed, I am not someone who will just stick to a schedule, because if you give me a proper rigid schedule, I tend to get stressed, or I'll just stop working. So that is something I realized, because since it is a creative exam, the rigid schedule, it works for your conventional exams.
Right.
For the creative ones, you have to listen to yourself. So like every time, like what is your mindset? What the situation demands, what you want to do.
Right.
So I had a plan every time, like the list of ideas, like the list of projects, like which would require dedicated amount of work, which would require moderate amount of work, and which can be done just at like even when I am stressed or tired.
Right.
Yeah. So according to the mindset, then I would decide how to go with it. So that is how it helped me throughout.
What was the most difficult thing to do in the whole process? What was the most difficult thing for you?
The whole process is like to convince that you have to be happy no matter what. Because during the exams, you tend to get stressed. And in these creative exams, you don't know anything. Like even the studio test or the first round or even the interview, everything is uncertain.
Yeah.
So every time, yeah, unpredictable. So you have to convince yourself all the time that you are capable enough to do that, and you are just ready to learn all the time, and you have to keep yourself happy no matter what. Because particularly in TGD, I don't know about other disciplines, but in TGD, unless and until you are happy, you won't be able to create a playful project or a playful idea. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, if I have to ask you, what was that one thing that you felt कि यार ये मुझे पता होता तो मेरा बहुत टाइम बच जाता? What was that something or a few things that you felt कि मुझे पहले क्यों नहीं पता था ये?
NID exam को लेके? Okay, the one thing that I wish I knew कि सब लोग बहुत ज़्यादा accepting होते हैं. Like even the jury.
Yeah.
Like they are so chilled out. Like they are there to just comfort you. You don't need to stress out, and they know how to take out the best of the candidate who's standing in front of them. So if I would know that before, then I would have just trusted in the process rather than just doing it the rigid way, or just trying to frame some particular questions or answers out of it.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So before we close this episode, before we end this episode, what are the few things that you want to tell the design aspirants, specifically going for masters or even for bachelors, who are taking multiple attempts and who are trying to make it to NID or a design college, okay, in a field that they really want to do? So what are the few things that you want to tell them?
The first thing would be like be open to learning, like every time. Like even if you go for the test once and you're not able to qualify, it is disheartening, but just try to analyze yourself again, like how you could have done. Just try contacting people, creative people, like not necessarily from the same field. Just try to be among the design related people, so that you are motivated to think that way.
Right.
Like even if it is the slightest thing, like for going for shopping, like buying clothes, what I would do, like I would ask my friend who is a designer to just come along with me. Like even that small thing, it contributes a lot to the process, because what I have observed, the way the design people look at certain things or the process, it is completely different. So trying to inculcate those little things is important. And just I would say that, and the one more thing which is important,
Mm,
okay, like it is fine to watch YouTube videos, listen podcasts, go through exams, talk to people, but the candidate should focus on their personality
mm,
more, like how they think, how they work, like how things work for themselves.
yeah.
Because design is something which focuses on your personality more.
Mm,
So if you are aware about yourself,
mm,
then then this is something which would help you to gain confidence in your exams, and you would be comfortable in that uncertain weather.
right.
Yeah.
Very well summarized. Uh, Last thing to ask, any particular resources that helped you a lot and you think that, they should be mentioned?
Uh, okay, particular resources, like I I searched to openware courses like MIT.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these are some of the free courses like which are easily available on the internet. Like for PGD or some other things, you can go through their
Hmm.
books or their models, their portfolios across the globe.
Right.
Like you can just read through it, even like listening to the podcast,
Mm,
uh, watching YouTube videos,
mm,
following various designers. Yeah. And curating the material as per your choice, as per your comfort.
yeah.
Because that is important. For design, I don't think so. Like for actually design aspirants, there must be something uh, what rigid or just a
Mm,
path through.
mm.
So yeah, I won't give a direct name because
Yeah, it's
then
fine.
then it creates a problem. I guess then uh, it just gets like we tend to follow the same thing.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. I think this was a very good conversation about your journey, specifically talking about the decisions that you've taken
Yeah.
and the, what do you say, the determination that you had to pursue like 3 times, 3 attempts, and every time reaching to the interview,
Yeah.
right? And all through this, you've actually understood that it is all about the process, right?
Yeah.
All about the process. It's all about uh, creating that experience,
Yes.
right? And solving those problems, right? Very good and interesting conversation. And I'm glad that we are doing this, bringing this conversation out, because there are very few people who have this level of determination and interest and passion to pursue design. And going coming from a typical mechanical engineering background, from the educational point of view, from the work point of view, and from the family point of view as well.
Yeah.
And you're now out of that almost, and you're just waiting to go to Gandhinagar, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. True.
Interesting. I wish you all the best, and
Yes.
I'm sure that you'd love the atmosphere there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
All
it.
right.
Now, that was the story of Pooja Shinde, and I hope that you guys realize how much dedication it took, the mindset that it took for her to keep on going, to relentlessly chase down what she wanted. And she did not give up till the time she got that admit from NID. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'm hoping that you have taken something out of this episode. I'm hoping that you have benefited from this conversation. Thank you for tuning in to this conversation. And if you like listening to these conversations, don't forget to rate us on Spotify. It'll encourage us to do more episodes in future. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next episode.